Hi, I'm Graham from Match Medics and welcome to our podcast, Dr. Diaries, Adventures to Ireland, where each week we have a doctor come on to tell us their own personal story about relocating to Ireland. Thank you very much, Alina, for joining us on this episode of Dr. Diaries, Adventures to Ireland. Thanks for coming all the way across from Kilkenny today to tell us about your story. So introduce yourself. Who's Alina?
Thank you for having me. First of all, I'm Dr. Alina. I'm a consultant psychiatrist on the Adult Southeast Eating Disorder Unit. It's a new unit in Kilkenny. And I finished my school in Romania in all my training years. And here I am in Kilkenny now for 2025.
Amazing. And I know yourself and your husband have been on quite the journey to come here. And for many will be able to relate to this. Getting a medical job is just one piece of the puzzle. It's, helping that traveling spouse also to find their feet and to find, a role for them, whether it's in the profession that they trained in back home or whether it's a totally new avenue. So I know the two of you had some challenges to get there, but we'll delve into that certainly later on in our session today. In terms of your Irish journey, if we go back to the very beginning, what motivated both of your decision to make the move to Ireland?
Well, firstly, in my first 2 years in Romania, I used to work in both private and it was a public, but also a private sector. It was a clinic actually. So I was there. It was a normal Tuesday, and a colleague came. One of my colleagues from the university came to have a certificate. And I asked, what are you doing with that? And she says, I'm moving to France. To be a doctor there. And I said, I always, as a child, was the type of person that wanted a lot from life. I never wanted to settle, to be just my hometown from life. I knew there was something more in my life that I need to accomplish. And I went home that day after learning that she is going to France. And I said, I'll just do a profile on LinkedIn and see where that gets me.
Okay.
And I went home. I didn't tell my future husband about it. I made my LinkedIn profile, and the messages kept appearing.
Okay.
And I was getting a lot of messages, I know, from Sweden and from Italy as well, and from France as well. But I knew my husband doesn't know French. That was, in my head, was the first road. The first job to apply, maybe France, because I knew French really well. And then I received a message from Match Medics.
Okay.
Yeah. And they said, here is our introduction to you, but a manager, James, I think, will approach you. So I stalked a bit on LinkedIn. I found Jace, I connected with him.
Yeah.
And later, I think he sent me a really kind message, really inviting about Ireland and opportunities. And knowing that my husband was in the UK, I said it's an English-speaking country, so let's see where this will take us. And that was everything. From there on, I just discussed with James, and Lizzie was a really helpful person, and I knew this will be my journey, doing all the paperwork and all the preparations and gathering money to make the move. So that was the spark that initiated us to come to Ireland.
Amazing. So a colleague looking elsewhere, asking you to sign off their documents to do so, had prompted you on the side, not telling your soon-to-be husband that you're exploring this venture, and here you are now. What an interesting way for that journey to start for you. Yeah. So talk us through then working in Romania and the adjustment then that you went through in order to prepare yourself for a relocation to Ireland.
Well, after finishing all my studies, I started to work in a public, both private sector, but in Romania, being a consultant, you are actually a specialist doctor, but you are also the nurse, and you are also maybe the receptionist, and you answer the phone, and you do the appointments for the patients, and you had to be self-sufficient in order to be the best doctor. You had to prove yourself, that you are able to do that. There's a lot of competition in Romania amongst psychiatric doctors. There's a lot of them. So you either had to be the best, but also be self-sufficient to support yourself, and also manage the patient. And there were a lot of them. You would get a phone call, can I come in tomorrow? And you would say yes. So coming here and having a team and being friendly with the management and not being, like an office job. Because in Romania you feel like the management is there and you are here, know. But now working with the managers and being helpful, being helped by them and having a team. We worked with a team, but it was, it was on the papers. It wasn't like a team that you really had that was really helpful.
Okay.
You always had to return something in order to get help from someone,
Right. So
coming here,
exchanging favors,
exactly.
Let's say. Yeah. Okay.
And everyone is so prepared here. I work with an amazing team that has so much training that I didn't get the chance to experience that in Romania.
Okay. What a big, and we talk about culture shock quite a bit when doctors move from one system to another, but that is quite huge, that there's a supportive team around you.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus a solo, really you were a solo consultant for quite a period of time.
Yeah, exactly. And you didn't have a lot of help to go through the day. It was all work, but now you can relax. And the patients are being managed by someone else or being seen by someone else, and you are more like in a role of a leader. And you didn't have to experience that in Romania.
So you can focus on being a doctor while the team around you can focus on getting the patients through that whole journey.
Exactly. You don't have to think about everything that goes into the patients. You just have to focus on the complicated parts.
Okay. So bring me back to the point of preparing for coming here. I believe you had some challenges with the registration process. How did you keep that motivation alive to come across, given the barriers that you come up against to get your full specialist registration that you need to practice as a consultant here?
It was really hard. I can tell you, it was really hard. And I think it took us 1.5 years to get all the paperwork going.
Okay.
With the translations.
Why so long?
I think it's the offices that work a bit slow.
Okay.
And everything has to be translated. Everything has to be approved by a notary. And you have to get approved by the Ministry of Health. They approve the paperwork in general. So I think it took me at least 6 months to get the paperwork in Romania. And then after that period to get it approved by Ireland.
Yes.
But I was so focused because I couldn't look back. After starting the paperwork, I knew that there's no turning point. But in my mind, there was always like, is this a mistake? Or am I doing the right thing? Because the family is the most important thing that you have to say goodbye from.
Yeah.
So I was lucky, and I'm lucky to have my future husband there to say, we are going to do this. Don't look back now. We are halfway across, or we are 10 minutes across, or we are 1 month across, and we just stay focused on everything.
Amazing. You come across quite determined, and I think we're going to delve into that a little bit further when we talk about your sort of climbing up the ranks in terms of your time here in Ireland so far. If someone listening is going through the same registration process as you did, what one piece of advice might you have liked to have gotten at that stage that might perhaps help someone else navigate that process a little bit quicker?
I think that once you are really settled on where you want to go, what country, either it's Ireland or UK or Italy or whatever, and you try to gather your paperwork really fast, and you have to call everyone because people seem not to budge if you don't push them.
Yes. Yeah.
So for me, it was just to be persistent and call everyone and have them get your paperwork fixed as soon as possible. And yeah, I don't think that would be. I think being motivated is the main factor that you need to have in order to get everything sorted. But looking back now, I think everything was so easy.
Okay.
But then you feel a bit, I'm not good with paperwork, so I felt a bit.
Sure.
I was a bit anxious because I don't deal good with papers. I feel like every paper is an important one. So
yeah.
But looking back, it
right,
was really
don't
easy.
You?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So plenty of I've had that sort of disheartened feeling of just waiting at the process, and it's taking much longer than I expected. But you make a really valid point, and we say this to every doctor we deal with, and that is just hound the medical council on either side, whichever country you're coming from, and across to Ireland, because it's you that's the driving force behind this move, right?
Yeah.
You're just another application to them, but you're the one who really wants to make that move. So I even have some doctors who set twice monthly reminders to call the medical council just to follow up on where their application is at, and kill them with kindness.
Yeah,
is probably my biggest piece of advice there when trying to get them to move things along. So now we're in Ireland. What was your first, let's say, impression on day one of working in Ireland, coming from a totally different system? How was your first day on the job like?
Well, the first day was, I think it was my first day when I arrived in Ireland. I went in, the line manager has called me, and I went in and I was introduced to all my colleagues. So I think I've met, not even my colleagues, everyone that was in the hospital. So I think I was introduced to at least 100 people.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I couldn't remember any of the names.
Sure.
Yeah. Everyone was a stranger.
Yeah.
Like they were that day. But everyone I know, I remember even now, I went home and I said to my husband, everyone is so kind and so lovely and so joyful to see me. And you get that imposter syndrome a bit.
Yeah.
Feeling like you won't remember, how do I need to act, how do I need to say things, is my English okay? So that was
Sure.
the biggest my anxiety that day. But everyone was so inviting and everyone was so welcoming, so it was I just relaxed. My first day, it was a relaxation, and I kept that going forward.
Amazing.
To this day.
What a welcome. I haven't heard of much welcomes like that on day one of any job. So I think you were quite lucky in that sense. Yeah, and they obviously made a lasting impression, because now, and as have you, because now you've climbed up the ranks. Tell us then, just delve into the service that you're working in at the moment and the role that you play in that service.
Well, I'm a consultant psychiatrist in the adult Southeast, so I cover 5 counties. I cover Wexford, Waterford, Kilkenny, South Tipperary. And I think I forgot one, but it's 5 counties.
Okay.
It's a population of 600,000 people.
Wow.
And we usually work with the community mental health units. They send the referrals in for the clients with eating disorders.
Okay.
We usually try to admit the ones that are the beginning of their eating disorder.
Okay.
And not with a 20-year experience, because it's harder to work as a community outpatient service with them. But we are supported by the clinical eating disorder program that's run by Michelle Clifford. Okay. And it's a really good system, and I feel like my role is really supported by them leading me, because in Romania we don't have units like this. We have the patients are under general psychiatry. There is not a special division that can help this kind of people, and we don't have that. So my role is to guide the team in as best as I can to provide the best service for our clients. Either it's psychology or OT or...
Okay. And what drew you to the subspecialty of eating disorders in the first place?
Well, I thought it was a really interesting division. Firstly, it wasn't a big motivator in the sense that I got to experience that, but I didn't know how the Irish system works, given the fact that it has a really special, it's a specialty unit, and I thought. At first, honestly, I thought it will be easy,
Yeah.
but it isn't.
Okay.
You know, now dealing with that is not as easy as I thought initially, but it's rewarding seeing these young adults, because most of them are just are over 18-year-olds.
Okay.
So you see these young people and you see the change that you can make in them. So, and I think that's really fulfilling than working with someone that has a long-standing mental health problem.
Okay. And have you noticed a major difference between the patients in Romania versus patients in Ireland?
I think the patients in Ireland respect more the system
Okay.
than they respect it in Romania, honestly.
Okay.
I feel like we take it for granted in Romania, and it's not really a good thing what's happening in Ireland, the fact that the patients enter the system after 3 months or after 2 months, and in Romania you have access the next day. So
Really?
that's a big
Okay.
difference.
That is quite a difference, yeah.
Yeah, but even though this is said, they seem to appreciate the system even more and want to comply with what we offer, and they seem to be more engaged in the system and with what to do with the therapy. And it's not a big thing in my home country, the therapy. And
Sure. Okay. Okay. So that you've identified quite a number of differences there, and dare I say, do you have a preference of one over the other? Sounds like a pretty obvious question there, seeing as you're still here. But in terms of, we can identify no system's perfect,
yeah.
and some parts of some systems work great and other parts don't. From your time here in Ireland, what have you found that really does work well that perhaps you didn't see before in Romania?
Well, for my biggest, I can take good parts from any system. In Romania, the best part is that you can get in the system really well. But unfortunately, you don't have the occupational therapists that can help you, in my case, prepare food or do groceries for my clients with an eating disorder, or you don't have a psychologist that can do mantra, that can do CBT. You have it, but it's really hard to access.
Okay.
So I think that's a really good thing that's happening here. Having that team, even though it's not a full team, you are more able to see the patient every day or help the patient in the everyday life that you didn't have to experience in Romania. And it was, you would see the patient every 3 months or whenever you made a change.
Okay. So you're making a real impact in terms of the services available here and expanding the sort of multidisciplinary approach that is required to help patients get through their particular illness. Talk us through that role there that you play.
My play as
leading the multidisciplinary team in providing such a wide-ranging service.
Yeah. Well, firstly, when we get the referrals in from the community mental health team, we try to go through them to see what is the best patient that we can deal with in terms of who's the more engaged, who can engage more with us, who can go to the psychology sessions, who can go to the who can be seen by our OT, by our nurse, and who will engage. So firstly, we get the referrals. We try to select as the more that we can, but it's a really big area that we cover. And you see the patient. We try to see it as soon as possible, maybe in 2 days if it's possible, but if not, maybe in 1 week. And for their going forward, I'll just try to lead my team on who is the best fit for this kind of presentation.
Okay.
Who will be the most helpful in that. But we all play a big part in the care of our patients. I don't see myself I see myself as a leader, but I try to lead with kindness, and I try to to lead by example. So hopefully I will set an example in that as well.
Sure. Okay. Really, really interesting. Tell me, just for someone, maybe a bit of advice you might have for someone on a similar path to you in terms of preparing to take up a consultant job here in Ireland. What extra things did you have to do to prepare yourself to, one, jump into a brand new system, and two, jump into quite a senior leadership role as a consultant?
For me, the most difficult part was the management.
Okay.
But I did some online training. You can just find really easily on Google. If you search on Google, you can find some really good management trainings online.
Just people management.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Team management. Okay.
Essentials to leadership, how to lead your team as best as possible. There are so many tools now with the technology that is so accessible. You have so many tools, and for me, having that was really helpful. Doing those online boring at that time, I thought it was so boring to do that, but now looking back, I think they were really helpful in teaching me how the best to be a leader, but also a person or a co-worker. And yeah, I think that is the best advice I can give to someone that will start to be a leader.
Just expand beyond your clinical experience and look at the people.
It's not medicine, but it's still something that you need to access in order to be the best in your field.
Okay.
Or
amazing.
try to be.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm sure there's plenty of people who would go that length. I'm sure there's a whole load of other people who wouldn't even think of going that far and just think I'm the doctor here and I'm here to do things clinically. So I think it takes a certain person to take that interest to get as prepared as they can to come across here. So delving into life as a whole then in Ireland, how did now settled here, how did it compare to your first impression before, or your thought of moving to Ireland before you actually came here? Did it match up with reality?
We try not to have a lot of expectations.
Okay.
We try not to research. So my husband is the one that does all the research. He came prepared. He knew even where the supermarkets were, or the main hospital and everything. So when we arrived here, even though I was without expectations, we did everything beforehand.
Okay.
And I think that was really helpful.
Yeah.
Even to the tiniest thing that you can imagine, we knew everything, but I think you will still be surprised. Even if you prepare everything, it's still a surprise coming here, and it's still something new. But every change will be new, so it's not something that you will do it once in your lifetime probably,
sure.
But it's a change. So I think even if you know everything, it's still a change, and it still has good parts and bad parts.
Yeah, and tell us, in terms of the wider Romanian and Eastern European community in Ireland is quite strong. How have you found settling into the Irish community as well as your own national community here in Ireland? How has that been for you both?
We don't know a lot of Romanians, but I have a colleague that has recently moved, so that made my journey a lot easier now, having Romanian-speaking people and friends staying in the same city as us.
Sure.
So I think that's helpful, but it still was the community, I think, here in Ireland, I think it's really friendly. I feel the Irish people are really friendly. When I just moved into my new apartment, everyone on the street was waving at me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good sense. Kilkenny, it's a small town, so
Sure.
It's a good sense of community there. So Romanians are not as smiley.
Okay.
They are more serious. You don't really talk with someone you don't know on the street.
Yeah.
But here, everyone is asking you, it's waving at you or asking you, how was your day? So I think that was the biggest
what was your
difference.
initial, and this comes up quite often, when you had that first interaction with, to you, a stranger, how did that feel if it wasn't the norm from back home?
It was strange at first, because you just don't feel like you know these people. Why are they waving at us?
Yeah.
But I think it just makes your day happier.
Totally.
Seeing someone, you are just in your thoughts, you are walking down the street and you see someone so smiley at you, even if it's not real or if it's real, it's just the way the Irish are. So I think it just makes your day happier because you tend to smile back.
Yeah.
And in Romania, you don't really smile. So I have smile lines now since I'm here. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And not tooting Irish horns, that just tend to be the experience, I guess, perhaps even for Irish people going abroad for holidays, wherever it might be. We'd seek out Irish people because, Irish smile at Irish, right? And you would seek out that particular person. So that's really interesting that you've had that experience too. And it's, of course, you're always going to get grumpy people everywhere, right? But
it's not everyone.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing. Great. Well, look, as we said, for a lot of people, it's not just about finding a job for themselves. It's about finding, a job for their partner. In some cases, schools for their kids. In other cases, bringing pets over. For you guys, it was for yourself and your husband, who I'm right in saying is a professionally trained chef. How did his independent job hunt in the hospitality space, impact both of you settling into life in Ireland?
I think it took him like 2 weeks until I think 1 month until he found a job.
Okay.
But we came prepared in the sense that we had some money put aside when we first decided to make the move.
Okay.
So we were able to maintain ourselves but Kilkenny has such a food scene, and I think all Ireland has such a food diversity that you can easily find someone in the HoReCa industry, in the hospitality sector.
Sure.
So I don't think that was a problem, and he likes where he is now.
Amazing.
But yeah, and you can always find a good restaurant that you can have a job in. Even that's the best part.
Yeah.
You can move to every country and still find a restaurant that he can apply for work.
Yeah. So in essence, his job hunt was far easier than yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm putting it out there. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but would you consider yourselves both foodies? And have you been able to, taste every corner of Ireland on your travels here?
Not yet,
No?
but we plan
Okay.
to.
Yeah.
We are foodies, both of us.
Yeah.
But he's satisfied by sandwiches, and so am I. So we are not.
So simple
we are
tastes.
foodies. Exactly, we are foodies, and we like the food in Ireland. But we didn't have the chance to experience because I think we just moved here in April, so we didn't have the chance to visit a lot of other cities and
Sure.
try a lot of food. But he always comes home and tells me, I cook something today and I'll cook for you as well so you can taste it. So I'm lucky that I can taste Ireland by Romanian food, but it's still Irish food.
Amazing. And you have a live-in chef.
Yeah.
That's something not many people can say. So you've yet to do much travel here. Perhaps you've visited a few restaurants, you've tried somewhere. Any recommendations for your favorite Irish restaurant, whatever cuisine, whatever part of the country, anything that stands out to you so far since you've moved?
I have to think. We just like comfort food, but I think I've tried the Irish stew and I thought that was really delicious.
Okay.
Yeah, the one with the Guinness.
Yes,
I think it's
yeah.
made. So I thought that was really delicious. It's
Was there
something
somewhere
that
you had that particular dish that stood out to you? Was
it was where he works.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I thought that was really nice. It's something that's really familiar to what my mom used to cook.
Okay.
So it got me that sense of going home in a sense. But yeah, I think that's the only specific food that I got to try that's Irish. I understand. And of course, I tried the Guinness and.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, look, we're going into sort of a more sort of quickfire section of our chat today. And the first bit I'd love to ask you is, what Irish myth about the Irish people would you like to bust today, that perhaps you had an impression of Irish people before moving and then realized that's not the case whatsoever?
I don't know if I heard a lot of myths about Irish.
Okay.
I think.
No.
Yeah, but they are not all redheads. I think that's a myth.
I'm the minority.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I can include myself. I think last count was about 5% of the population are like myself. So yeah, we're not all pale-skinned, red-haired Irish blood. Great, and I guess we're talking about language and talking about moving to a new country in a totally new language. There's naturally, we get this quite often where people ask, do you speak Irish daily in Ireland? And that's certainly not the case, but there are still remnants of the Irish language in everyday life. So I might throw in this section a couple of either names or place names or Irish slang, and let's see if we can test how you have adapted to Irish culture so far. So here's firstly a person's name. Can you
I know how
pronounce
it's
that?
that.
You do.
It's Saoirse.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who's the most famous Saoirse that you know?
Saoirse, it's an actor.
Yes.
She
Saoirse
played
Ronan.
Hannah, I think.
Yes. Yeah. So that was an easy one. Okay.
Yeah,
so this is a place name that sometimes might stumble
I can do
some
that.
people.
Drogheda.
There we go. Yeah. Good.
It's similar to Romanian.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Now this you've done 2 for 2 now. Let's see how we fare with this last one. What does this term mean to you?
Banyașet?
Bangjaxed.
Bangjaxed.
Have you come across that yet?
No.
No. I've been
I
led
don't
to
know what that
believe.
is.
I don't use it in my everyday, but I'm led to believe by our team that it is, let's say if you've broken something, or if you see, my phone might be bangjaxed, or my foot might be banjaxed, and I need to go see a doctor, so maybe you can take that away yourself today and use bangjaxed in your everyday life, and see the Kilkenny locals scratch their head thinking, where the hell did Alina get bangjaxed from? Tell me then, moving on in terms of settling into life here, I've asked you, I think, ahead of time, if there was a picture on your phone, perhaps that summarised your adventure so far. Do you have that picture with you? Yeah, if you want to, you can.
I have it on my phone.
You can share that, of course. Yeah, share that with me here, and we'll share it with our audience. Yes, absolutely, that would be great. And I can notice your phone certainly isn't bangjacked, so we can see you there. So yes, okay. So tell us about that, and we'll share that picture with our viewers later on. But tell us the story behind that picture.
Well, when we first arrived in Ireland, and I remember we arrived at midnight. We needed to book a hotel for the night, and afterwards, the next day, we were supposed to get the renting space that we applied for, since we were in Romania.
Okay.
And it was pouring rain. We are so cold, and we went into the stores and we bought everything that was needed for that day. Pillows, blankets, everything. But we forgot to bring plates.
Okay.
But we had two frozen pizzas that we bought, and we had the pizzas in the oven, and we realized we don't have plates to put the pizzas on. So we found two bags in the cupboard, and those were the plates for 3 days until we managed to go get a set of plates, because the stores here usually close at 5. So I was finishing work at 5. And we didn't get the chance to buy the plates so for 3 days we used just plastic bags for our plates. And I think this is the best picture that I can remind myself, okay, we did it. We are here now. Very
resourceful,
Yeah.
And now, no doubt, you will make sure you always have plates in the house,
exactly.
so you don't have to return to that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thanks so much for taking us on this your whole journey to moving to Ireland. Before we wrap up, I wonder, is there any one bit of advice that you would give to anyone listening, wherever they happen to be in the world, any doctor who might resonate with your story, but might be a little bit unsure whether or not to go down this route? What would you say to them?
what I used to say to myself, it's be confident. A change is still a change. If you want to do it now, there's the best chance you will do it now. You won't do it in 20 years. So just go with your gut and be used with the losses that you will have in your life. I think this is people will come and go, but what's most important is your path, and whether you want to do it or not, it's this moment. It's now. You have to decide now. And
Just
for
seize
me,
the moment
exactly,
is your
just seize
message,
the
yeah.
moment, make the change. It will change your life, and just don't look back, because the losses will be. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Thank you
for
as well.
coming onto the podcast today.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
taking
me.
the time. Our pleasure.